talking about the Hermit. I decided to talk about the Hermit. The 9 card, 2 plus 2 plus 5. 2025 is ruled by the Hermit because the Hermit is ruled by Virgo and it's Virgo season. So if we're going to feel the Hermit energy, it's going to be right now, September 9, right? The Virgo is someone who I would like to say thinks a lot, but they do it in a way where we're thinking about the non-action. What am I not doing? What I was saying about that meditation retreat, right? It kind of feels like we're forcing ourselves to slow down, to notice things that we might be missing. The non-activity of the Hermit is where we are going to find the medicine, not in the doing this year, even though it feels like we have to do so much and we're so busy and we have to make all of these things in order to get to where we are. It's the magic and the medicine is in the non-doing and the non-feeling. So I'm even realizing now, with the way that I'm recording this video with the sun behind me, the only reason I did that is because the sun was in my eyes on the other side, and I was trying to, get outside, it's nice, and try to record. But it actually really reminds me of the card itself, especially this one, where he's being illuminated from behind. And there's something in that metaphor, I think, of maybe like when the sun was so bright, like you get the sun card or even the star or something like Judgment, where you see so much that you're blinded. So the Hermit does bring clarity in the way that like we're leaving certain things out of the picture and we can get a bit more clarity on what might be hiding deep within. And if we're looking for clarity, chances are if an archetype like the Hermit shows up, we're gonna have some like very automatic responses. Up to the surface for me is this feeling of being lost or alone, like you're about to travel into unknown worlds without a clue. But remember, this card is the numerology for this card is 9, so it's not the one. The Fool has less of a clue than the Hermit, but for me, the Fool is exciting. The unknown is exciting in the Fool card. When the Hermit comes around, I can feel some tension really come up for me. And as a Pisces, I think I need to be a little bit more open to what the medicine of the Hermit is. So that feeling of loneliness, if that's not what the Hermit is, then what is the Hermit? Well, like I mentioned earlier, showing you guys the cards, there is this illumination present, so there is a darkness to the Hermit. But the Hermit is not traveling into unknown territories, it's not the night, it's not going on an adventure, but it is going somewhere. And where that is going to be different for everybody. It's going to look very different for everybody because it's going within the self. And that's where we are going to find our experience as a solo traveler, right? So the Hermit is a solo traveler within the terrains of our inner worlds. And we would love to bring people along to see what the inside of our brains look like, to be seen, but we are the only ones who can experience the inside, the perception from within. We can only experience that on our own, but that does not make us lonely. That does not make us alone. So that experience of our inner world is one that we cannot avoid. And the thing about 2025 being a year ruled by the Hermit card means that there's going to be a lot of factors created, environmental factors influencing us, to kind of forcing us. It's heavily suggesting that we are invited into ourselves, that we take a look and go within. And so some of those circumstances that would create the need to go within would be the loss of material things. So this might be a year of loss, of things in the world that we rely on to give us comfort and security, because with the comfort and security, chances are we're not going to spend as much time on a deep spiritual dive into the unknown worlds of our subconscious. So it's kind of giving, you know, a yoga or meditation retreat where we are spending most of the time maybe in silence, maybe just with ourselves. You know, as a Pisces, again, I am familiar with that. I spent a lot of my time as a child being with myself and getting to know the self. So she's not an unknown character. However, she could be a forgotten one. So what are some other words for the subconscious or our inner world? Our higher self resides there. That could be um, synonymous for the subconscious, which is always on and always listening and always working. So this year I found it really, really vital to spend time listening to guided meditations, hypnosis, for just even for helping like with my stomach, just subconscious, subliminal messaging on YouTube, the things I'm reading. I wouldn't call this an ego death per se, but I would say that it's similar. You know, there is the loss of material knowing and your understanding. You have to kind of suspend belief and let go of all preconceived notions in this energy so that you can really like let go, hands open. That's the only way you can receive. You know, if your hands are closed tight, you can't grab onto anything. And you do see here the Hermit is holding onto a staff in many of these photos. But here, you know, she has a palm open and it's still available. In this one, the third eye, I do invite you to do some guided meditations maybe on. So with that, let's try to get a little esoteric with it. So if we're going into the self, into the deep, dark waters of our subconscious, we're really talking about the void, right? And the void or source, spirit, right? We're talking about the higher self. The void is where we are from. So we go on this journey of the Fool and we begin to understand who we are. I am who I am. We are the creators of our universe. And then we further dive into the spiral after the Chariot. Last year was the Strength card, ruled by the 8. We see what we can do. We see our strengths. We understand our power. We are getting a sense of our greater self. And so when we go inside, we are now going to birth our inner self. We're going to be the ones going into the void, going into source, and coming back out from there. So that's where it gets really esoteric. We talk about the inner child, we talk about caring for ourselves, but this is the creation of that inner world so that we can bring what's inside out. And that's where the next few cards and the journey of the Fool carries on. Right now, talk about contractions. If we're talking about birth, we're talking about contractions and that uncomfortable feeling that has to occur before we can open and birth this up. And it can feel really heavy and confusing, especially if you're coming to tarot to gain some clarity. So we're talking about the tarot as a tool to find clarity, to gain more clarity. And what the Hermit is inviting us into is as we delve deeper within ourselves, we gain a deeper understanding of our inner self, of our inner knowing. And that allows us to gain more trust with our inner self. Now, the brain does not like this. I mentioned this in the other video. The brain does not want to trust something that's not the brain, right? The brain thinks and figures and uses its pattern recognition to protect us, right? It's always to protect us. But the brain is not comfortable with diving so deep within ourselves that it is not able to protect us, right? So the brain does not like this. We cannot think ourselves out of our inner world. We can feel ourselves within our inner world. So that's why these guided meditations, even somatic healing like yoga and massage, little fly there whispering in my ear, these things that allow us to get more connected with our actual somatic body and how we feel within the body are great tools during the hermit year. But the intuition and the inner knowing is a lot more esoteric. In the end, the hermit is an initiation into trusting our inner self, and along with that, trusting in divine timing. This card is slow. As you could tell, this year has gone painfully slow. It has gone by, and it's not over. Like, I keep seeing like holiday stuff, but really we're not even in October yet. It hasn't even gotten to the last, we're just beginning the last quarter of the year, so we're still on this journey. And with that divine timing that we have to trust, along with ourselves aligning with that requires no specific action except for accepting and trusting. You know, the knowing, it's not gonna feel like you know. It's uncomfortable. Again, the brain is not comfortable with the situation, but we trust ourselves. We trust the alignment of everything that is occurring, and that is what the hermit, if we can accept this invitation into the hermit of this year and allow these things and powers to move through us while we care for our body, we will see then how it plays out as we enter the new year. So what would be the next year? 2 plus 2 plus 6, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now we're talking about 10. And the 10 is the Wheel of Fortune. So then we'll have even more things to talk about then. But yeah, if we can really accept this pause that the hermit here is asking us to come into, then we can really start to accept the answers to some greater mysterious puzzles that would be unimaginably impossible to solve if we hadn't done the work in this quiet, really quite peaceful year. Even though, you know, our experiences of the outer world would say otherwise, you know, but as far as our inner world, what are we able to see? What can we glow our own light on?